Well, we've been busy in Mary's studio. Within hours of filming the previous episode, we moved everything out of the room and I went right to work on the biggest part of the renovation, which was removing the closet. This was one of the quickest and most satisfying parts of the remodel. I mean, who doesn't like demolition? But for some reason, Mary didn't want her room left in that condition. So I patched up the walls and ceiling and pulled up and replaced the old flooring to make it look like the closet had never been there. And we scraped off the popcorn ceiling texture. Then we could finally paint and start putting the room back together.
A lot has happened in this space and we're excited to finally share it with you. In the previous episode, we talked about our desire to make the space less cluttered and more functional by removing the closet, updating the color scheme, providing more work surface for me, and a more functional desk for Brett.
Yeah, most everything went according to plan, except the schedule. We expected the project to take about a month, but in reality, Mary was able to move back in here after 6 or 7 long weeks in exile at a small desk in our kitchen. My desk came after about 2 months, and it was just 2 days ago, after about 3 months of work, that we finally finished the trim and we consider the room done.
It took a little longer than we expected, but I'm very excited about how the studio turned out and excited to share it with you.
So let's start about one of the bigger changes that we can already see here, and that's the color changes that you were excited to make. So how about the walls?
Well, the walls before were gorgeous yellow. Actually, I liked the yellow when I first picked it out, but I wanted something more neutral. And so we went with this wonderful light gray called Fog, which has been just a great neutral tone and sets kind of the tone for the whole room.
The flooring was another big decision, and we had to replace it because removing the closet left some big holes. What did you think about as we picked flooring?
Well, looking at flooring choices, and there's a lot to choose from, I went with what I knew the color scheme I wanted for the room. I wanted kind of a white and gray balance, and so I found some gray floorings, and this flooring we chose, I liked the depth and dimension that it offered in the various tones and thought it would set the base for the room really nicely.
We also wanted to refresh the color of the cabinets because we were going to be bringing in some other furniture. We wanted it to coordinate, and because a lot of that furniture was IKEA, we decided to go with a white. And the tricky part with that was there's a lot of white options to choose from. So we were kind of comparing the swatches to the IKEA furniture, and we finally found one that we thought was close, and that's how we settled on the colors of the desks that we have. The worktop was another thing that we had to change, and Mary talked about her frustrations with that in the previous episode. So how did you choose this one?
Well, my old worktop had kind of a green yellow patina to it, and I found over the years as I worked that it really competed with the different projects I'd work on, clashing with different color schemes and things like that. So this time I went with a very neutral gray countertop, little speckled so it doesn't show marks too much, but it really works well in showing off the colors in the projects I'm working on.
After countertop, we were struggling with what to do with the hardware and the color of the hardware, and it was when Mary made this choice that she really kind of turned a corner and got very excited about decorating the space. So how did you come across and decide that?
Well, after looking at lots of different hardware options, who knew there were so many hardware options, I knew I wanted something clean and simple, but then it came down to color. And I finally saw something that really struck me, and that was a very fun rose gold drawer pull. And I thought, why not? Gray and white color scheme, very basic, but accent with rose gold, and it just kind of made things come to life. And so I decided that rose gold would be one of the main accents throughout the entire room.
In this area of the room, there weren't too many other changes, but we did make some adjustments to the desk. Mary, what did we change there?
The biggest change to the desk was I went from having 4 large, deep file drawers on this side to 8 shallow drawers that offer more versatile storage for what I needed. I discovered that I wanted my paper stored flat in paper holders, not in a file drawer, and the shallow drawers just offered me more functionality. One other change I made in this area was just the arrangement of Stampin' Storage products that I use. I had discovered previously that it worked, but I didn't like how tall it was or where everything was located. So after some real hard soul searching of what I wanted out and at my fingertips, this is the configuration I found that works best for me. and it has the supplies I use most frequently right at my fingertips and helps my creativity soar.
So the biggest change in the room has been removing the closet, and it really has surprised us how much bigger the room feels with it gone.
And with the closet gone, I have a lot more options for functional storage space and better looking space. A lot of thought went into deciding how the compartments were going to be used and organized. I wanted an overall symmetrical look to the unit, which led to the placement of the doors and baskets, as well as the placement of coordinating items. The 12 by 12 paper holders ended up here in the middle because I originally had wanted to have them down one row, but with the work surface here and the clamps, they wouldn't fit. So we just moved them up a row and adjusted things accordingly. After the basic layout of the cubes was finalized, I thought about the top of the calyx and thought I could use it for storage, but instead I opted to go for a more fun and decorative look. Another benefit of taking out the closet is that it allowed me to have this additional work surface, to have other tools such as my scanning cutout and ready to use at a moment's notice. It was something I didn't have space for in the room before. I knew I wanted a work surface and wanted to incorporate some of the IKEA Alex drawer systems, but how to make it fit in this small space was a bit of a challenge. But Brett had a way to make that work.
So we actually taped out on the floor where all these pieces were going to go, so we could actually see how it was going to fit into the room. And in this area, that really paid off because the original plan was to have these drawers further down here with the paper holders on a separate stand like it was in the old studio. And we realized that that was going to leave a very small space here for either the dogs to sleep or for being able to access the items that were being stored underneath. And when we realized that we could push the drawers down, have the full surface covered by the countertop, it not only gave more room here, but it would also allow it to be a spot where somebody else could come and sit and craft with Mary if she wanted to.
Or a spot for my two little furry crafting companions to hide out. The last piece of the puzzle was Brett's workspace. In the old studio, he had a small desk and his stuff would tend to creep out and clutter up a lot of the room.
It did, but now I have more room with a larger desktop and more drawers. And we based this design on Mary's so that they kind of looked like they fit together in the same room. The colors and the materials are the same. The drawers and the layout of them basically matches what's in Mary's desk, so they look cohesive. And this works well. It gives me the space that I need while maintaining the look of the room.
Even though the project took longer than anticipated, one of the things that helped it run as smoothly as it did was the planning we made beforehand.
It really did. You know, we talked about taping out the floor and showing where the different pieces of furniture were going to go, including my desk, since that was a big new addition to the room. We wanted to make sure that everything was going to fit and look right. You know, like we talked about before, we uncovered the problem with the worktop and doing that the way that we had planned. But beyond that even, we did a lot of planning with lighting and electrical outlets. And when we took the closet out, the back end of the room was really dark, and so we added a lot of more track lighting, not only for just general lighting, but also task lighting over the worktop. And we knew that we wanted to have outlets above the work surfaces so we could plug things in without having to either put cords through the worktops or be crawling underneath. So we've added several outlets above the counters so that we have easy access to those things.
After waiting and dreaming and planning for so long, I'm very happy with how the studio has turned out. It's brighter, it feels clean and organized and just put together. I'm able to display lots of projects that I've made or other things that just make me happy to look at. It makes me smile and inspires my creativity.